Wonderful, thank you. We are live. I am calling to order the Solid Waste Committee for Thursday, September 18th. And I am Councilor Nishioka, Chair, and
Councilor Gwen.
And our online members.
Councilor Ricky Barney.
So we heard both Councilor Barney and Councilor Brown. Thank you very much. And staff, go right ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Ryan Zink, the franchise administrator.
Josh Nielsen, Chief Financial Officer.
Hallie Langenbach, Budget Manager.
Shannon Thomas, Admin Atlas.
Great, thank you very much.
We also have Nitin.
Yeah, Nitin.
Oh, Nitin, thank you.
Nitin Joshi, Environmental and Operations Technology Manager, Public Works.
Thank you. All right. May I hear a motion to approve the minutes from August 21st?
I move to approve the minutes from the August 21st meeting.
Do I have a
I'll
second? Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes passed, and now we have public comment. We do have two guests here for public comment. Marge, Pop. You are first on the list, and if you would like to come forward, you get 3 minutes to talk.
Okay, Brian.
For your minutes to be entered in this.
Okay.
So introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Okay. So, good afternoon. My name is Marge Pop, and I'm a resident of Corvallis, Oregon. And I'm going to read my statement, my hastily prepared statement. Corvallis, Benton County seat is home to the Coffin Butte landfill, yet we do not have a solid waste committee of our own. That is one reason I was drawn to the meeting today. I appreciate Salem's leadership in taking solid waste issues seriously, and I believe Corvallis could learn from your example. Hosting a landfill has serious consequences when the landfill is badly sited with respect to porous soils and excess rainfall. Each year, 40 million gallons of leachate are trucked to the Corvallis wastewater treatment plant, bringing in about $1 million a year in revenue. Salem also accepts millions of gallons of leachate annually. This leachate, laden with hazardous chemicals that our wastewater treatment plants are not designed to treat, is pumped into our rivers. Earlier this year, Republic Services abruptly announced it would stop sending leachate to Corvallis, just as the landfill expansion hearings began. Yet recently, we've heard that they are asking the city to continue to accept it. The landfill directly undermines our community's livability and economy. Corvallis is one of the most rent-burdened cities in Oregon. The area north of Corvallis, where the landfill sits, would be a natural location for new housing. Instead, odors, noise, and health risks deter development. Existing property values are depressed, shrinking the property tax base that funds our city and county services. The stigma of being tied to a massive landfill also discourages new business and tourism, both vital to our economy. That's why we need to take a more proactive approach to long-term waste planning. The existence of this committee indicates that Salem and Marion County, the largest contributor of waste to Coffin Butte, are doing just that. Meanwhile, the expansion fight has intensified. Although the Benton County Planning Commission unanimously denied expansion, the Board of Commissioners granted Republic a 60-day extension. The company has used this time to pour resources into an AstroTurf campaign, including a polished website and pressure through local chambers of commerce, trying to reframe expansion as a temporary measure to buy time for the HB 3794 committee.
March.
That's it.
Appreciate you coming. And I think there, one of our staff might be providing some information that may address some of the things that you talked about.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. Thank
If you
you.
want your written comments in the record.
Yeah, we can take those, and I'm sorry you didn't get to all of it, but we will take care of that. Thank you, appreciate it, and I hope that you encourage Corvallis to have their own. That would be, you know, that would be a great idea. Great, thank you very much. All right, Jim, come forward. Let us know where you live, and you know you got 3 minutes on the clock.
Okay, Tim Shepke, president of Salem. I'm representing 350 Salem. I'm here to talk about 95-gallon garbage cans,
Ooh,
which I see is on your agenda today. We had a big discussion of it at our last 350 Salem meeting. I brought forward your arguments that I heard at the last meeting in favor of cans, and we are not budging an inch on this issue. I
Okay.
wanted you to know that if that were to go forward to the city council, we would strongly oppose it. We do not believe you can be for zero waste and for 95-gallon garbage cans at the same time, one or the other. They just don't go together. And 95 gallons is just, we don't buy it. We don't buy that anybody should collect 95-gallon, or any family should collect 95 gallons of garbage weekly. My own example, I have 3 people in my household. We collect 20 gallons of garbage pretty consistently on a weekly basis. We compost everything. We put all the organic waste we compost. We do all the recycling we can. And I can't imagine, if we had 6 people in my household, we might need a 35-gallon can. 95 is just, we don't buy it, that anybody needs that. There may be a few oddball outlier reasons where it's justified, but most people, they're not doing the right thing. They're not composting. They're not recycling as they should. We should not encourage that. We should be all for zero waste. And you all were going to put that in your policy, as I recall, zero waste this year. And I don't believe you've done that yet. So I wanted to also point that out to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody have any questions for Jim? Thank you. Well, I appreciate that you advocated for the conversation we had at our last meeting. I think, again, what we're trying to see is that those people that already have 265, having the option to have a single 95 would reduce what they're throwing away instead of using the 2. But you're right. Changing behaviors and encouraging more recycling and food waste into their yard waste is necessary. It's really hard to get people sometimes to do things that they're not accustomed to or really have enough knowledge for. And so the bigger concern I would have is if they have too small of a garbage can, they're going to be putting the wrong things in their recycling. And then that leads to a lot of problems for the haulers and for separating it out. So we have to weigh all of those things. And I will talk, I guess we will maybe have on our agenda the goal of zero waste, knowing the reality is not going to be there, or how we might want to phrase that, if that's something that we want to consider. Anybody have any comments? Yes, Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So just in response to what Mr. Shepke just said, I'm curious, and I appreciate you, Madam Chair, for just explaining and sharing the reality of that. Is there some more data that goes with, or just some data that suggests that that's not the case in regards to what Mr. Shepke said? I wasn't sure if you have that data or does Mr. Zink have that data?
I think, were you here last time? Because
No, ma'am.
Yeah, we had the map up of showing the people who have like 265 containers and they're paying for 265. where if they had a 95, it saves them money.
Okay,
And so we're trying to find ways for people to have, you know, a more equitable cost that they're incurring. And yet I think even Jim was a little surprised at how many have the double 65s or a 65 and a 35. So
Mhm.
I believe Ryan would be able to send you that map.
We have it again today.
Oh, and
It's part of our presentation.
oh, it's gonna be
Oh.
part of our presentation, so if you're able to be here for seeing that, and if not, then you can reach out and ask him to send it to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
Yes. Mickey, did you have anything?
No, I don't. I would bring my comments and discussion.
Mickey, I'm so sorry, your audio is not very good. So we struggled with understanding what you said.
Let me.
Oh, that's so much better.
Okay. This right earbud has been touchy. I may switch. I have some comments, but I'm going to hold off until our discussion later.
All right, thank you. I'll be sure to call on you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Again, thank you both for coming and providing your testimony. We do not have any action items, so we are now to the management update and information items. Mr. Zink, you get to take over.
All right. Thank you, Chair. So first of all, as always, I'd like to talk about upcoming events. This isn't something that's specific to this committee or solid waste necessarily, but on October 4th is the Great Willamette River Cleanup. There's a link there in the agenda for more information. My understanding is that that is a multi-agency effort, both on and off the water along the Willamette Valley, or excuse me, along the Willamette River, that both the City of Salem and I know the City of Kaiser participate in. So the Willamette River Keepers at willamette-riverkeeper.org, they've got some great information on that. But anyway, that's on October 4th. Also, my intent is to provide updates on the Marion County Materials Management Advisory Council. That council did not meet in September. And so the next meeting will be October, and we'll have any updates at the next meeting on that.
Have we landed on a date?
I don't know, have we landed on a date yet?
I believe you should be seeing something, I think, for the 3rd.
Oh, wow.
Who's on that council?
So there's, was it 20 some members or so, Brian, but it's primarily representatives of cities within Marion County. So there's 2 representatives, myself and Chair Nishioka, representing the City of Salem. There's also representatives from all the large cities, and then a number of 2 of the other smaller cities. We can get you a formalized list of those members if you would like.
I was just curious.
Yeah, Woodburn, Staten, and then there are some business owners.
Right.
There's, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but somebody that owns several restaurants here in Salem and in Albany, unless that was sold. So there are people that are representing businesses that utilize the services quite a bit too. So it's quite a few members.
Anyone from like Salem Health or?
I don't believe so.
And then Commissioner Cameron is basically in charge. I think someone else, was it the mayor of Woodburn is going to be the chair?
He's the vice chair.
Vice chair, okay, yeah. Good question, thank you. All right,
Next is just very briefly update on Recycling Modernization Act and so that education outreach. The bill inserts should be going out over the next couple of months, so folks should be seeing those that get the paper bills. Also,
Brian, bill inserts for what?
Oh, sorry.
we all knew.
Borrow that one.
Oh, the one you gave me?
Anyway, sorry, so bill inserts showing what material is recyclable. Let me make sure I'm in this upside down. So the material that's recyclable, so this is providing some of that initial information out to customers. Some customers have already received it. So a lot of the Republic Services customers that have e-bills or not or paperless billing have received that. And the rest of the customers citywide should be receiving that either electronically or in their paper bills over the next couple months. And on that is also a link to multiple languages. It's a QR code, great website that I think there's half a dozen or maybe even 20 different languages that all that information can be translated into. And so it's a very accessible information. So kind of as part of that slow rollout, probably a little slower than was anticipated, but a slow rollout over the 6 months of the implementation of the Recycling Modernization Act.
I was looking to see if it's on the app.
And just to let some people know, I know that I see Mickey's hands up as soon as I finish. I know some neighborhood associations have been asking, keep in mind that Ryan will make himself available to go to your neighborhood association to speak about this. He's gonna get worn out because I'm probably gonna ask him to come to some of mine. And I know that some people, when I've been speaking to them about it, I heard that DNO was maybe not getting the information out as quick because they said they called and they were basically didn't seem to have an answer for them. So I thought that was interesting. And I said, just to be patient, it's a slow dial because there's a lot that needs to get done. So we just need to remind our neighborhood association members that this is happening. And for those that have already reviewed the information and are making the changes with what they can recycle, that's great. And hopefully more information will be coming. Councillor Varney, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for the information, Ryan. On the flyers, who is paying to print the flyers, number one? And then how can we get flyers to distribute to our neighborhood associations, or for me, organizations like the Edgewater Partnership? Just ways to communicate and educate, because I looked at it and I thought, okay, I can print them on my laser printer, but is this really the best way to go? Is there another source?
Yeah, so the majority of the flyers will be going out, that are being mailed out, are actually being paid for by the CAA, Circular Action Alliance. So that's part of their budgeted expense for part of this rollout. Majority, so the cities cities and local government are not on the hook for that. However, we do have the PDFs, and so if we need to print some, and so those are we ordered some extras so that we do have some handouts. But if we need to print some additional ones to provide to counselors going out to neighborhood associations, that sort of thing, we can probably afford to provide some of those here, go through our print shop and get some of those out. But the CAA is paying for the majority of those that are being mailed out.
So can we then bill the CAA, or, I mean, it shouldn't fall on the city to have to pay for those costs.
Like I said, we are getting some extra we're dependent on their printing and delivery schedule. And so if we're wanting to get some sooner, there's a possibility of reimbursement. But if we printed off, say 100 or so, I don't know that would be a cost burden to the city to bridge the gap until we get those from CAA.
Okay, because I know I would like some, and I'm thinking of farmers markets, for example. I mean, there are a lot of different places that we can get the information out. And the more information we have, more people are going to know that they can recycle more materials or have better guidelines. Because I think some of that is the fear. When in doubt, just put it in your regular can instead of the recycling. And so I really want to encourage getting the information out as soon as possible.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian?
From a waste reduction lens, I'll tell you right now, the county is trying not to print. We're trying to provide links to websites or QR codes or other ways to try to reduce this. In the past, we've done newsletters, we've done a lot of things, and when we went to Garden, we saw a lot of them on the floor.
Yeah.
In the recycle depot. So we're really trying to push some other forms, and I know there are certain people that really gotta have that piece of paper. Our haulers are putting those inserts into their mailing also. So hopefully that'll be the one that gets posted on the fridge or something like that, but we're really trying to reduce that quantity of paper being pushed out for the rollout as much as we can.
Did you hear that? Counselor Varney, did you?
Yeah, I heard it, and I have mine on my refrigerator, and I refer to it often. So I appreciate the paper, because until I get these habits figured out, something I can go over and look at it and decide, what am I going to do with this? So I am finding it very helpful, and
Well,
having been on the solid waste committee, you'd think I'd know the rules, right?
That's right. So I think what is being suggested is that we send it electronically to our neighborhood association so that they can download it and print it for themselves instead of, so that's an option, is that I know I'll send it to them electronically so that they can add it to their newsletter and have all members be able to open it up and print their own. And it also has a QR code so that when you take a few copies to your neighborhood association, people could just take that QR code and access it and then be able to print it for their home use. So there are opportunities where we may have less paper usage, and except for maybe at their home, they can print out a copy where it's needed.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll see about it all, I know. All right, well, thank you.
The second part of that, with the signage and education or outreach and that sort of thing. So there are, we have depots, recycling depots around the city. And so new signage will start to show up at those as well. Some of the like what and how it's recycled and how it's collected may also change a little bit with some of the requirements under RMA at those depots. So may start to see some of that, but anyway, keep an eye out. That will be happening as well.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So, and Brian, help us out if we need these depots that will be here. I know that currently I am using Ridwell still for my food packaging and for my soft plastic and for vitamin containers and the lids of things. I know that some lids can go in. I'm wondering if these depots will have places that we can drop off those things.
So at this time, no. So
Okay,
the depots, for instance, the depots that we have now that are at each of the haulers' offices, their only requirement is to collect what is on the what would normally go into the curbside commingled recycling bin.
Okay,
That's the requirement going forward. Some of those other items like plastic film is part of is under the responsibility of the pro of CAA to collect those items and set up a method of collection for those items. If they partner with our local haulers to add that to the depot, so that can also be collected at the depot, that's something that CAA will need to contract or negotiate with them. Otherwise, it is their responsibility to provide a way of collecting that material.
great, thank you.
So the main event for today is a continued discussion of our solid waste race. I have some updates to that, and also kind of a few pieces that are kind of part of a larger discussion. So it might be a little heavy on that, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started with that. All right. So just as a brief mention, so on the agenda, we have 4 items there: adjustments to the initial proposed rates. Brian May is here to discuss some potential items coming up with Marion County Disposal. We have 95 gallon, and then I was asked to bring back what the potential impact of the Chariots payroll tax might be. So I'll leave that towards the end. I'm prefacing my upcoming presentation here, this discussion, with the knowledge that there may be some changes that we're going to hear, or some potential changes that we'll hear from Brian around disposal costs in Marion County. So I guess all that to say, don't get married too much to the total or the bottom line, but we're going to talk about some details or some particular other aspects. Anyway, I hope that makes sense, but we'll just jump right in here.
And Brian, just to add on to that,
Yeah.
we were originally thinking of asking the committee for a recommendation today, and we're not thinking that any longer. So this is more information. Hopefully some decisions can be made today
Yep.
to inform the final rates that will come to you guys next month for recommendation.
Yes. So we're pumping the brakes just a little bit. Because of some, again, it's not solidified, but some potential new information. So the first thing is, let's see if I can get my, talking about, the top 2 items, if you remember, last time we met, I did not have updates on the general inflation or the fuel. So we have locked that in of where that was at the end of August. So we've locked that in and we'll be using that for the rest of this discussion. On the general inflation, we had anticipated about 3.5% for all of the rest of 2025. With what we're seeing in updates, that's reduced down to 2.8. 2026 reduced down to 2.7, and then no change for 2027. So that 2.8, 2.7, and 2.5 is what we'll be using for rates with no changes. So that's been locked in. Fuel has also been locked in. We've seen some upward pressures on fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing it's not horrible, it's not bad, right? But it's not as low as it was before. So rather than having a couple negatives in the zero on that inflation, that's bumped up a little bit. So it's a little worse than it was before, but certainly not bad. Labor and benefits, that's the same information we had before. So just a brief update there. The next one is getting into a larger conversation on Polk County drop box. So if you recall, last time we met, or the original proposal, as you see in the red, was, hey, we need a fairly substantial increase in the drop box rate for the Polk County side of things. And that was initially attributed to the very large or significant increases in the disposal costs from Coffin Butte. And so as a reminder, we last time we talked, recognized that, hey, there's actually an element of the delivery fee, which is approximately $50, but really the cost of that is closer to $75. And so we discussed, really, we need to increase the delivery fees to more appropriately lost the word there, but appropriately allocate the cost within the rates. So rather than increasing the service fee or the haul fee, we actually need to increase the delivery fee to better allocate that. And so we saw a reduction in what that allocated or what the requested rate was. Admittedly, I had a bit of an aha moment shortly after our last meeting. Again, if you recall, Dropbox service within Polk County, the rate that city council adopts is just the haul fee. In other words, it's what's the cost of getting it out to the customer, which is a delivery fee, what's the cost of taking and basically the management of that box and moving it around and the rental of that box. But the actual disposal cost of how much material is in that box, that is a pass-through to the customer. So Republic Services or Valley, those are our two haulers in Polk County. They deliver the box, they pick it up, it gets filled up, they take it down to Coffin Butte. It's emptied and they get a ticket. It's like, this is how much it is. They take that and they pass that through to the customer. So if the customer is paying for that disposal cost directly, the increase in disposal at Coffin Butte should not impact this rate at all. But it was, and so what I discovered is that the significant increase in disposal exposed frankly a flaw in how we were calculating it. And so what I want to talk about today is the correction of that and what we're recommending in order to do that. So as a brief demonstration, these aren't actual numbers, but this helps to demonstrate the problem. On the far left-hand side, we have the haul fee. As you see, that's the council adopted rate. This most closely mimics a 30-yard drop box. So this might be something that, this last week ago, I had my roof replaced. Now the roofers that did it, they had their own dump truck and all that, but some haulers would call up their local hauler and they'd have a drop box brought out and all the shingles would go in that box and they'd get hauled away, right? So the haul fee, the fee to get the box out there and all that would be $300 for that 30-yard box. There's a fringe, so that's the revenue piece. There's a franchise fee of 7% the city gets, thank you very much. There's the corporate activity tax of the 0.57%, so $1.71. State gets that. They say thank you very much. And then there's other costs, right? There's the actual operations, the wages, equipment, fuel, administration, all that. So on this, as an example, let's say that's about $250. The total expense would be about that $272. The difference between that and the revenue is the $27. If we calculate that out, that's out to, on that one piece is about a 9.1% margin. Okay. This is where the problem comes in on the disposal, that pass through. So I'm going to direct your eyes towards the bottom of that where we see the disposal cost. The cost per ton right now in 2025 at Coffin Butte is $53 per ton. The average tons per box is about 6.5 tons per box, which would be a disposal cost of about $344. So $344, if it's a direct pass-through to the customer, that's what the customer is paying, $344. Now, so that's the revenue. On that revenue, the hauler pays a 7% franchise fee. They also pay the CAT tax. So their total expense is $370, where their revenue is $344. So there's automatically a loss of $26 on that disposal. Now, when we look at it on a consolidated level, the full line of service, you see on the right-hand side there, you add those up, your income under this scenario is $1.21 or barely over, 0.2%. That is that's the root of this issue. Was not happening, frankly, either I didn't know or I learned about it years ago and I forgot. So I apologize. But I'm learning new things every day. with this industry. So all that to say, if we, so in order to, this is where we saw the large rate increase request initially. In order to get that total line of service back up to a 10% margin, under the scenario, that would require a 23.5% rate increase on the haul fee. But that's not appropriately allocating the increase where it needs to go. So the fix to that is allowing and asking our haulers to rather than, so that $344, that's the disposal cost, they need to be adding a markup to that before they send it to the customer. And so we are recommending at their request a 17.57% markup. So if you add it up, that's a 10% margin that we allow them. That's the 7% franchise fee, and that's the 0.57% cap tax. Now, you're gonna say those math majors in here are gonna be like, wait a minute, that doesn't actually get them to a 10% margin because that markup is now part of the revenue that they pay the franchise fee on and all that kind of stuff. And so you see you get to an 8.5% margin at the bottom rather than a 10%. Technically, they would need a 21.3% markup to get to that same 10% margin. I recognize that, but I think that the 17.57, it's easily explainable, and it gets us a whole lot closer to where we need to be. And the 8.5% on the disposal piece is within that 8 to 12% boundary that we're targets that we're looking for. So under that exact same scenario, we have the 9.1% on the hauler side of the haul fee, 8.5%. So the whole line of business, if there's that pass through, the whole line of service would be at 8.8%. In order to get that to a 10% margin, that only requires a 3.2% increase. So that goes from a 20-something% to a 3.2. So what you'll see later in terms of the actual rate increase that will be asked for, that's why we're going to see a significant decrease in that ask. So I'm going to pause there. That was a lot of numbers on a couple of pages. I just want to make sure that folks are following and see if there's any questions or concerns. Dr. Brown.
Thanks, Mr. Zink. I don't have a concern. Well, maybe it is a concern. So I appreciate, you walking us slowly through this. My gigantic question is, will there be an easier way for me to share this information with constituents? Because I'm not going to remember everything that you just said.
Polk County. You're not in Polk County. Did you hear that, Dr. Brown?
No. What did he say?
So Councilor Gwynn said, "This is Polk County. You're not in Polk County."
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I do see that now. So thank you for reminding me of that, Councilor Gwynn. Thank you.
So the burden is on Mickey.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks.
So I recognize, so at the end of the day, the impact to the Dropbox customers, when they get that bill, it's the same. It's just allocated in a different way. This is a one-time correction to again, appropriately allocate those costs or charge those costs in the way that that it should have been to begin with. And really, it brings it up closer to be equitable in the way that the Dropbox rates are calculated in Marion County, while it's done in a very different way. So, and Mickey, if you have folks in Polk County that have questions or you need me to, I'll be your phone a friend. If you need to explain this to anyone. So while I don't want to minimize the impact of this to those that use Dropbox, I'm encouraged that it is, it's not our curbside customers, it's not our commercial customers. So it's the smallest line of business and probably the least impactful of the three lines of business to West Salem.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult to explain. But as you said, the question probably won't even come up very much. But I appreciate your offer to
Yeah.
be a phone a friend person.
And so if any of you have any ideas of how to explain this when we take it to the full council, I am open. So
Ryan, can you talk a little bit about future rates and how this might impact those or rate increase requests?
like in 2 years from now, or?
Yeah, you know how we've been seeing consistently higher increases in the Dropbox line of business, and part of it is because of this.
Well, yes. So to speak to Callie's comment and question there, this correction in how we consider the Dropbox rates should help stabilize this a lot more. So that 17.57 essentially guarantees those two haulers in West Salem the margin that they are looking for on that, and will stabilize and minimize rate increases for Dropbox moving forward. So that's the one piece of good news in this. And really that increase, it should not and won't in the future be impacted by disposal rate increases or disposal cost increases.
It would not,
Not
to this percent.
not to this degree. So if say in 2 years, we move that 17.5% up to 21.3, there would be zero impact of disposal cost changes. But there will be still a
The
minimal.
incremental, like the others, everything will probably continue to go up, but we won't see this kind of a jump as well.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
I was gonna say, we can't promise that it won't go up.
Well, so if for instance, if this body wanted to say, hey, you know what, we want to correct this all the way, 100%. And instead of a 17.57%, we want to make that 21.3. So if we made that 21.3, the disposal margin at the bottom will be 10%. And no matter what happens with the rest of the cost, no matter what happens, Coffin Butte could double their cost. At a 21.3, that full cost plus the margin would be passed on to the customer at that time without council action. And then the increases, any haul fee increases would be entirely based on labor, fuel, inflation, equipment, that kind of thing. There would be zero impact on that council adopted rate by changes in disposal.
So with that said, right now, and maybe this is what Callie's point was, if it's brought to council to increase it the 17%, 17.5%, we would see that the next cycle, we would need to bump this up again. But if we bumped it up now to the 21 or 22% you're talking about, we wouldn't see that in the next 2-year cycle. Did I hear that?
On Ford, there would be a reduced impact. So if we make that the full 21.3, changes in the cost of disposal would not impact the rate that council would need to adopt. I can't say there won't be increases to the council adopted rate, but the factors that would change that would be anything but disposal.
Yeah, so if the franchise fee went up, for instance,
Right.
that could impact, or if the cap went up, the cap rate.
And we don't have any control on the cap rate. Yeah.
Or if fuel goes up, or if labor
Okay.
goes up,
Okay.
so those things would impact the council adopted rate. But disposal would not. Right now, as it sits with the 17.57, there would be a minimal impact to the council adopted rate with changes in disposal.
Okay.
We're
So,
taking care of most of it,
okay.
but there is still that small percentage that would be impacted by disposal.
So Counselor Varney, do you have any thoughts on this? Or maybe you need to sit with it for a while and also speak with Mr. Zink?
I would say option 2, door number 2. Yeah, I need to sit on it a little bit. I'm trying to figure out. I'm thinking of animations. I'm also thinking of the 23.5%. If we were just kind of using the old rate, whatever, I need to kind of figure out how that was determined, so that I can explain why this increase that has come about at the end of this process is a benefit.
All right, well, again, we'll let you take the lead on that, and next month, then we can hopefully land on a plan.
Yep. One other option with this is that, if we stick with the 17.57, which was recommended by the haulers, that's what was asked for.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Is that we could lower the expectation of meeting a full 10% margin on the full line of business. So if, for instance, if I back up to the other slide, an 8 or 8.5% for this line of business, with using the 17.57, recognizing that on the haul fee, they're getting the full 10%, the disposal, they're getting less, the mix between the two would be less, and recognize that, hey, around 8% or 8.5% is good.
Yeah.
Rather, and not adjust the rate each year to try to get up to a 10%.
Yeah.
So we're basically changing our target.
And they're okay with that. The haulers are.
So I think they're happy with above 8%.
There you go.
But I think that would be a deviation from our stated policy. And so we'd want to talk through that.
Okay. Because we have an 8 to 12, but with the goal being about 10.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So should we use this assumption to bring back the rates next month? Should we use the 17.57 assumption?
Counselor Varney, did you hear the question Kelly asked?
I did, and I tend to say yes, use the 17.5%. I'm still processing it, but choose what you feel is best, and I will try to absorb it all as I go here.
Okay.
I agree with you, Counselor Varney. Dr. Brown, do you have any thoughts on this? Counselor Quinn? So we've got 3 of us that feel that this is the good place to start. So thank you for making sure we have that proper direction. Thank you. All right, more good news.
All right. I know we got 10 minutes before Dr. Brown needs to go, so I want to make sure we get to.
Oh, here we go. Here's the map. Here's the map.
So this is very similar to the slide you all saw, or most of you saw last month. So I'll just walk through this briefly. Each dot on this map represents a residential customer that has more than one garbage cart. The majority of those are customers that have, and that's, so this would be the yellow. The yellow dots are customers that have a 65-gallon cart and a 35-gallon cart. So their base service is a 65 curbside, and they've added an additional 35-gallon cart. The blue dots, which there are 690 of, are customers that have 2 65-gallon carts. So that's a total of 130 gallons. You see there's some outliers. There's a couple that have 2 35-gallon carts. That could be either someone inside a duplex, and so each unit has their own 35-gallon, or it's possible that that a larger cart may be difficult for them to handle. And so I don't know the specifics, but there's 2 customers citywide that have that. And then there's some others that you see that have even more, where there's multiple 65-gallon and 35, and one that has 3 65 gallon carts. Again, those could be
Complex.
duplex or could be a number of different reasons for that. But the majority of them are 65 and a 35 or 265 gallons. The map kind of shows the disbursement throughout the city. Again, we have Kaiser that's outside the city, so we don't have data for that. In both the Hayesville and Four Corners area, again, those are technically outside of the city, so I don't have data for those. So that's why those areas are blank.
And part of that near Four Corners is also county.
Yeah, well, that
That's
Four
the-
Corners area is, you have quite a bit of there's some commercial.
Yes.
They're on the west side of I-5, I
Mhm.
believe, right in there you have the prison and
Mhm.
some states, so there's very little residential.
Yeah, and I think some of it,
Yeah, then you have the
Does dash
airport
into
and
yeah.
that whole industrial area, light industrial area south of Mission. So this was that visual disbursement. So then the question was, okay, we look down below, we see some nearby comparisons. The UGB or the unincorporated area of Marion County over in, again, that Hayesville Four Corners area. The 95 gallon cart there is $48.65. And then City of Kaiser earlier this year in January adopted a 95 gallon. So they added the same thing that we're recommending, a 95 gallon cart at $53.56. So the next slide, keeping the map up there for your reference. This is kind of the recommendation and kind of walking through a little bit of kind of some of the reasons why. So the intent is for those that need that or want that additional capacity, this is a way to save them some money. So it reduces for some of them, hopefully the number of carts. And this actually increases efficiency for our haulers. So if they're able to replace the 2 carts with the 1 cart, the haulers only have to lift 1 instead of 2. So it increases their efficiency as well. The recommendation, if you see on the right-hand side, kind of on the green, and there's the $7 in there, recommending a $7 increase over the 65 gallon. So for the 95 gallon for Marion County, recommendation is $56.40. That's $7 more than the 65 gallon, and so on. You see with the UGB Marion, the difference between the 95 and the 65 is $7.25. Kaiser $7.52. So it's within that same range. Right down below that, we see what the savings would be. So for a customer that currently has both a 65 and a 35 gallon cart, which is the closest comparison to a single 95 gallon cart. In the Salem Marion, there would be a savings of $12.05, but $12 a month, $144 a year. And in Salem Polk would be a savings of $8.20 a month, around $100 a year. So I'll pause there for questions, comments, jeers, yays.
So Councilor Brown, go right ahead, because I know you have to leave soon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My apologies to you and to our team and of course the staff that's there and the visitors in the space. I have a work meeting at noon. But Mr. Zink, I do like the idea that there is this cost savings, especially with 1 replacing 2. My question is, how will we educate everybody about the change? Who will do that? Is that on us?
That's not on us. That would be our haulers. And so I believe they would be reaching out to those customers that this would most benefit. And then as they're, and so there are some limitations. One, I've already talked with one hauler where, they would need to order and get more 95 gallons. So this change would be happening if and as those 95 gallon carts become available. Because they don't necessarily have, hundreds of extra 95 gallon carts in their lot. They do have that same service in the Marion County portion of their service area, but they may need to order more in as customers want to switch over. But yeah, that would be something, we'll do notification to customers of saying, hey, this is what the rate changes are coming up. We do that prior to the January 1st. And so included in that would be the notification of the addition of the 95-gallon cart service. And that would go out to all customers. After the fact, there could be some targeted communication directly to those with multiple carts.
Got it. And I would assume that, you know, we would partner with, I guess, some of our neighborhood associations to also help get that word out. Is that the right protocol, or?
I mean, I think we could, if we look again, up on the previous slide, we're talking about a relatively small percentage of the overall customers. So it's not necessarily a general message that needs to go out to everyone, but particularly targeted to those that currently have multiple carts. If, however, someone currently has a 65-gallon and they call in and say, hey, I need more capacity, you know, my in-laws moved in with me, or I just had quadruplets, or, you know, whatever that life situation is, then the haulers would offer that option when they call in to adjust their service.
Got it. Well, thank you, Mr. Zink, Madam Chair, everyone. I apologize. I got to get to a 12 o'clock meeting, you know, the other job that. 1 o'clock meeting. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you missed it if it was 12. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So I would like to add that, if possible, when the haulers are offering this opportunity, if this is what is chosen, that we would also encourage them to also let people know that they can drop down to a 20-gallon, or they can do every other week, so that they're getting fielded with all of the information instead of just the upward mobility, and also talk about decreasing. Thank you.
Okay.
So is that,
I guess what I would ask,
she's given us a thumbs up and now she has a question. Councilor Barney.
Of course. No, I mean, I'm supportive of the 95-gallon residential cart service. Mainly because, you know, we are providing a service and we need to provide options, as well as educating folks on why it's important for us to get to zero waste. I think they have to come along concurrently, and it has to be a slower rather than abrupt forcing of that. Because I'm afraid if we force some sort of a reduction, we're going to see, as you said, more regular trash in the recycling bins, more trash on streets, overflowing carts, etc. But one thing I wanted to ask is, instead of someone going, oh, look at this, and I could just do 2 95s, can we, as we're doing this, limit it to 1 95 cart per customer? And what I mean, they can have a 95 and a 20 if they have to, but I mean just limiting it so there's only 1 95 per customer.
Does the city set the rates for like the extra cans as well?
yes.
So we could just not have a rate for an extra 95, it would have to be your main can.
Yeah, we could leave it as it with, we could not adopt an option for an additional 95-gallon. Just an additional 20. I think right now it's actually only, we have an additional 35 or additional 65. So yeah, we could just not add a rate for an additional 95-gallon.
And Mr. Bailey Hyde is shaking.
What was that, Chair?
Oh, I was saying that Mr. May, who's sitting here that represents Marion County, was agreeing that that could be done. It was single can, that the rates would be for a single can. They could add additional other cans if necessary, but limiting it to the one. I think the only thing that I would worry about again is if they're asking for multiples, and it was better to have 295s than to have
360.
365s, you know, I mean,
We don't have any of that, right?
But there's two that have, one
Yeah,
or two that
but-
have
but that's-
365.
certainly that's
So
not,
very-
indicating that most people have that, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm just saying, if we see a map that looks different and all of a sudden somebody who's limited to a 95 is requesting 265s in addition, we might need to consider opportunities.
But we know the market is very, very.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Great.
Maybe we can have a targeted discussion about reducing waste with that one customer.
Yeah. Maybe that.
We'll send Mr. Shepke to them. All right.
Can I ask one more thing? Sorry about
Please
that.
do. Yes.
I don't have the rates in front of me. What is it for an additional can? Let's say if I have a 35 and I wanted another 35, is it the same base rate for both of them?
No, so if you look on the bottom of the slide here where it says extra 35 gallon. So the $19.05 is the cost for one additional 35 gallon cart in Marion County. And the $15.20 is the cost for the extra 35 gallon in Polk.
So why don't we increase that?
Why don't we do what? I'm sorry?
Right. Oh, I just said, so why, I think we should increase the rate for the extra ones to, I mean, to encourage people to not add on extras.
So my only comment to that would be, we want people to have the appropriate size cart to discourage using the recycled cart or the extra trash.
It would be the same argument for why we're adding a 95. And so that second one is going to be less than the initial one for all carts. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I guess, you know, like why are we giving benefit in one circumstance and not another, you know, like overcharging for a second one. I understand what you're saying, but again, people need to figure out what works for them. There may be different reasons. It might be a duplex or a fourplex, and you know, for the extra ones, I don't know. But think about it.
Yeah, we're trying to get people to recycle more, right? And to reduce waste, but here we are, oh, you can have a second can for half the price. You know, buy one, get a half free. I mean,
You wanna talk about-
and it just makes me wonder about how best to meet the needs without having it so easy to do, basically. I mean, you
Yeah,
look
we
at
want
the
to control
additional
people.
Polk.
So
Well, I mean, $15 a month in Polk for the extra 35 gallon, heck, that's what, a couple of coffees?
So just a quick
Sure.
reminder that the base fee, so for instance, the $38 for Polk County there for the 65 gallon, that does of course include your recycling and your mixed organics and the 65 gallon cart. So that's the full curbside service. And so just that additional one cart is the $15. And so,
You don't get another yard waste and another
Right.
recycling.
right, that's just one more cart, not three more carts.
So how much does it cost if you want another yard waste? I'm curious because my neighbor has one and I don't remember what it is.
I think it's around $10, I want to say. I'd have to look it up.
Oh, that's okay.
But
Yeah, you don't
I
have
can-
to
I can follow
look it
up.
up. No worries, no worries.
Okay.
I'm just trying to, I'm trying, what I envision is some sort of a chart or table or something similar to what Chair Nishioka was talking about, where we can really show people how they can best save money, because we're all facing challenges with making ends meet.
Yeah.
So I want to show that there are ways that people can do that, but also encouraging them to produce less waste. So anyway, I'm just thinking, thanks for the discussion.
All right. He's jotting that down, making sure. Were you going to continue on?
Yeah, so if there's no other discussion on 95 gallon. The last thing, nearly the last thing, I just want to come back to you with very brief information on the Chariot's payroll tax. This is just an estimated impact, assuming what I've seen is a 0.7% tax on gross taxable payroll. For that, 35 to 65 gallon curbside customer, residential customer, looking at approximately a 5 cent to 10 cent increase per month impact of that tax. Yeah. If it happens, and so this is, again, there's a range there. I've heard talks that they might delay it to 2027 or be partial month or might change the rate, but assuming that it went into effect in 2026 on January with a 0.7, it's a 5 to 10 cent increase per month. And part of that, why I rounded to 5 cents and 10 cents also is because all of our rates round to the nearest 5 cents.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be one of those. So if it's actually 8 cents, it's probably going to be rounded up to 10. If it's 4 cents, it'll be rounded to 5.
Okay, that's good. Is that across the board or just for us? I mean, that's
Pretty much across the board. Yep, for residential customers.
If council adopts rates and this moves forward, can it be absorbed or they would have to do a rate adjustment?
This can easily be absorbed. Yep.
okay.
Yep. Yep.
And still be their
Yep.
percentage. Okay.
Counselor Marty has a question.
So,
Counselor Varney.
Of course. Well, part of it was the question that was just asked about being absorbed, but also, are there rules behind this in terms of this tax? Is the tax employer paid or employee paid? And it sounds like if there's an increase per month for residential garbage customers for this, then actually the employer is taking on the cost. So that's fine. I wonder if that's just the way it's going to be with everyone, or if an employer, say, pays somebody $20 an hour or whatever, then is that employee just going to get less money and it's going to be the same for the employer? I was wondering what the guidelines are regarding that.
The employer is.
Yeah, so the authority that grants the transit district the ability to levy the tax it's for an employer tax, similar to TriMet or Lane County Transit District. So it's just on the employer, not the employee.
So the employer would be forced to pay the employee the same no matter what. I mean, they couldn't make an adjustment for taking it out of the employees or out of their next raise or whatever. You're just
They couldn't directly do that, no. I mean, their financial condition might be different, so they might not be able to offer the same wage increase the next year. And one nuance, if you're self-employed, you would still pay the tax after the fact when you file your tax return.
okay, well that helps, because I was curious. I mean, employees in Salem, for instance, is this going to mean that they have to pay more? So anyway, that explains it much better. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Okay.
So assuming nothing else changes, which I don't know is a fair assumption yet, but at this point, this is what we're looking at. So for 2026 in Marion County, no increases. No changes in rates for cart, container, or drop box. For 2027, consolidated of 1.2, again, no increase for cart, very minimal for container, and a small one for drop box of 3.1%. On the Polk County side, the majority of what we're looking at here, so I'm going to drop down to the drop box line at the very bottom as a follow-up to our earlier conversation. you see that a 0.7% increase would be requested for 2026. That does get that line of business up to a 10%
Oh, okay.
with the 17.57% markup. Now, and we can, I can bring this back, so it's based on the direction of this body, or we can talk about, I can bring back options in October. But if we were to lower the target for Dropbox to accommodate, if you will, that 17.57% as compared to the 21.3, we may not need any increase for 2026. Again, and then in 2027 at that 3.2, that 3.2 is essentially just addressing the minimal inflationary impacts of labor and fuel and just general inflation, with a small piece of that addressing the disposal. And so anyway, if we make some change, we change our assumptions or change our target for Dropbox based on that, those numbers could be a little lower.
When you come with those numbers, can you also ask how many Dropboxes
Sure.
were used, say, for 25 or 24? Just so we have an idea, like, is it 1,000 or is it 20? You know,
Yep.
That might help figure out what to do.
Sure. Going back up to, so CART 3.7 and 4.6. This is, we have both the disposal increase impacts to that, along with other inflationary impacts. Though recognizing that the large increase in garbage increase at Coffin Butte is one of three. So you have the recycling, which we have a significant decrease in the cost of disposal there. You have the mixed organics, and then you have the garbage. And so there's the increases for disposal at Coffin Butte impact that line of business and CARTs less. For a container, 9.1 and 5.6, you have a larger impact on that rate. The increases at Coffin Butte impact that more because it's only one of two services, or recycling and the municipal, or the municipal solid waste, the garbage. So there's a little more impact there. And so this right at this point, this is the staff recommended increases.
And they
On that note,
Okay,
unless
good.
there's any specific questions about this, I'd like to invite my friend Brian May up to the hot seat and talk to us just a little bit about what we might be seeing from Marion County regarding disposal.
So for the record, Brian May, Marion County Environmental Services Division Manager. I think we talked a little bit in this group. So about kind of the costs associated with running our integrated solid waste system, what that looks like. That helps pay for our waste reduction activities. It pays for HHW facilities, a number of different things other than just transportation disposal of waste. So when we talk about those kind of rates, it's kind of a all encompassing.
Yep. Mickey, or Councilor Varney, Brian provided a handout here. We made a copy and I sent the handout to you in an email earlier in the meeting, so you should have that.
Okay, I will look for it. Thank you.
Okay.
So with the closure of the incinerator at the end of 2024, that seriously disrupted our solid waste funding system for all those things. So we are running at a loss of about $600,000 a month within our solid waste system. So when we're faced with some of these kind of conversations with my board and board of commissioners, we're looking at how do we adjust, how do we fix, and we have a couple different ways. One way, you guys are just looking at rates impacts the curb collected, right? So that's your curbside collected rate structure. We also have within the county our transfer station. So that is, we can adjust rates there that don't directly impact the residents and, you know, businesses and impact. It's only those that utilize that service in that facility. So what I have in front of you today is kind of our, what I see as our first step into kind of recouping some of those losses associated with not having that incinerator for our solid waste funding. Is that we're raising our rates at the two transfer stations. So this is all happening October 1. So for solid waste garbage, our minimum charge has always been for 460 pounds. So if you come to the facility and you have under that, you would pay $25. That's now going up to $30. Okay. So when you transfer that into a tonnage rate, 2,000 pounds, that's going for $107.45 a ton, now up to $130 a ton. It's just more pounds, more tons, more costs associated.
How long have those been the rates?
So those rates have been in place since October of 2016.
Ooh, so
So it's been 9,
10 years,
almost 10.
I've
basically.
never seen them change.
Yeah. So thanks for pointing that out. I tend to forget that we have a bad habit, I'd say, in Marion County of trying not to raise rates, and then also we do this jump. So that's also part of our conversations right now, is to try to look at what this jump is and maybe some smaller incrementals, so we don't have this big jump in our future as we see this 9 year later impact. Similarly, we see this for yard debris going from $15 minimum to $20. And then from a tonnage rate of $59.49 a ton up to $80. So this impact, as I mentioned, our fund is hurting significantly. This should generate additional funding of about $1.7 million. It's still far short of what's needed. We're needing probably an additional about $5 million annually to kind of get the fund to more of a break-even point. But this is kind of that first step by our transfer stations. The next page gets into the Browns Island rate, and again, it's just carrying through the yard debris rate that we established at the transfer stations. We're doing the same thing because we do accept yard debris out there at that facility. So our prior minimum was $15 for 2 yards. The minimum is still $15, but it's going to be for 1 yard.
Mhm.
And then additional yards used to be $10. Now that additional is just 15. So it's going to be $15 for every yard that we'll bring out there.
Cubic yards.
Cubic yards, yes. So, and then this is the big, this is an impact definitely to the city of Salem. Definitely want to bring this forward. Is we've always had a subsidized government rate out at the facility. So when you look at your public works, your parks and everything is bringing yard debris,
Yes.
in a sense, out to our facility for processing. We've subsidized that at a $5 per yard rate. So we need to do an increase. The board recognized the fact that we weren't going to take you from $5 clear to $15 in one jump, because we all have budgets, we all have things we're kind of saying. So they're doing a minor increase per se in comparison to $7.50 October 1, and then a jump to the full 15 next July. And we do not have a chance to get into budget cycle and understand that.
So is this the city's notification of this rate?
No, there is
Notification.
a letter in the mail, literally, as we speak.
So
Sorry.
would you be able to give us what that equates, this $250 extra? What that will be costing us with?
Yeah, I should be able to. It's when we talk about yards, it takes a lot of yards to move. I think it's less than $30,000 a year.
Okay, it'd be helpful to have that information.
What
Yep.
kind of materials is this? What,
So this would be green clipping, street trimming, city
parks?
activities or city trimming activities. Yeah. Strictly by July 1 next year.
I'm sorry, what?
It's
And then
tripling.
tripling, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be helpful for us to kind of have an idea of what that increase is.
You bet. I can
Thank you.
provide that for sure. Yeah.
At least I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
I assume you would. I assume Mickey would. I'm sorry, Counselor Barney would. So if this is happening all over, is that something then that will get Marion County back to?
No.
I was gonna say, it doesn't sound like that's what I.
Like I said, this is kind of an initial step. So this is again, that those that don't impact the rate structures that you've talked about today. This is a different impact. Yes.
And will you be bringing this information to the materials management as October 30th meeting?
Yep.
And And I'm assuming you'll be notifying the other cities and.
So from the other city aspect, when we looked specifically at like Browns Island, we don't have other cities utilizing
They're
that
utilizing
facility.
that, okay.
Correct, but anybody that has an account for that, our transfer stations and largely I think of like the Salem Kaiser School District or some of those other entities, they're getting that letter in the mail also saying, oh, by the way, if you have an account, these are the rate changes. We also have reader boards posted at the sites, big ugly orange reader boards, digital lights that say rate change. These are actually posted in much larger form at our sites right now today. We also have a little sort of a sheet handout to hand out to people also as they're going through our transfer stations, just to make them aware of the changes just as much as we can. Plus, we're doing website adjustment and social media posting and announcements.
I've never thought of this before, but I'm going to ask now.
Mhm.
Who pays for the Capitol's trash?
The capital would.
So the Capitol gets a bill
Yep.
and they pay for that and we don't change any of their rates. That's done in a separate manner because we're a city and that's.
I would presume that they subscribe to one of the services that are on our rate sheet.
So they
And
would,
probably,
so they would
it's-
get the increase.
it's commercial service.
Commercial rates.
And so it'd be under the container line of business.
Mhm.
Would there be anything on this that they would be subject to?
I'm trying to think of.
Because they mow their properties.
Yeah, that we have directly with them. I think they're utilizing some of the other private processors for that material.
Chair Nishioka, looks like Counselor Varney. has a question.
Thank you. Counselor Varney.
Hi there, thank you. My question is, why doesn't Browns Island sell compost?
So part of our cost cutting measures is it's expensive to create compost. And what we found is that we're able to access it and kind of process it. Marion County doesn't own a large grinder or a large screen system to screen it to a final product. So right now we're just accepting it, processing it to a point, and then we have another private entity that's coming in and actually taking and finishing it to a finished goods that they're marketing it. So that's why we don't have a finished compost anymore. So.
Okay, thank you. I was curious because I remember when we toured Coffin Butte, you can go out there and pick up compost directly at a fairly reasonable rate. So I was curious as to why we couldn't do that at Browns Island. So thank you.
Yeah, our commissioners are not wanting us to compete directly with private sector as much as possible. And that was one of those areas that we kind of pulled away from. So.
Okay, it's interesting. In the town where I was in before, the county took over the composting and bought all the equipment and everything and took it on themselves. So I just wasn't sure. Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Good news.
Sorry.
All right.
So-
Anything else?
So Ryan's giving me up. So as I mentioned, this is kind of that first step. So now back to impacts that could impact the curb and what you guys just went through. So we are currently having those discussions with the Board of Commissioners. We have meetings at the end of this month to dive deeper into that to try to figure out kind of what we call our break-even analysis is what's it going to take for a rate for disposal.
So you'll be getting that to us soon.
As soon as I can get accomplished with my board. Yep.
You're gonna press them on that, aren't you?
Yeah, we've been adjusting, we've been looking at timelines. So, yep.
So depending on the timeline, there's a possibility we may have that information at least tentatively in time for our October meeting. If not,
That may still be coming before.
we may push it out to the November meeting. That would, however, change the timeline of notification and that sort of thing. With the haulers, they may have to do 1 month of notification and
And
have
then
a special
change it.
mailing and to still have things in place by January 1st. If the timing really kind of gets out of whack, we At that point, we have a couple options. One, we just move forward with the information that we have. And adopt a rate for January 1st. Or we could delay that and have an implementation later than January 1st. If we are certain that there's going to be at least a significant enough change that would warrant an adjustment to
The rates.
what we're suggesting.
And if I may, back to the question about when were these rates last adjusted? So the disposal rate was also last adjusted October of 2016. So it's been 9 years since that rate's been adjusted also.
All right. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
we got to wait.
One last share, but there's not much more. We're pretty much there. And a minute and a half left. Okay,
Yeah,
so much for being done, but that's okay.
that's all right. We had a good conversation.
Are down here. There we go.
I think things are oh.
So
we want one more
this is
thing.
just a timeline. Again, if we have information in time, we'll bring that back on October 16th. One way or another, we will have our October 16th meeting. And if we are confident in what those additional changes might be, we'll bring those to plan on a public hearing on October 27th for the city council.
City.
Which would allow for the full 2 months of notification for our haulers during November to December. Otherwise, we may adjust that as needed. So that's actually the last slide. We already talked about it. And
So October we'll have some major discussion.
so I aside from some of the additional information that has been requested, I am not anticipating any other changes to Salem staff recommendations. So the only change would be change in disposal costs for Marion County. So that would be the only topic of conversation moving forward.
Yes. Might be too early if we talk about any increasing franchise fee. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So that will come with our future council meetings and plans for safety and livability. Okay,
With that,
any last questions? Councilor Varney, any last questions?
I don't have a last question, but after last night's work session, one of the questions that was asked was the pounds of trash that were hauled away from, picking up what the SOS team was doing, et cetera. And I was just curious, comparatively, how many pounds of solid waste do we produce residentially and commercially, I guess, per week or something? Or I was just kind of curious if there's a place I can go to look up those figures as a comparison. It just got me to thinking about, what do we produce? I mean, we look at the big numbers, like how many millions of gallons of water we use in a day, et cetera. And I was just curious as to how much waste we produce.
I can bring back some estimates, but what makes it difficult is that City of Salem collection isn't isolated from the rest of the county. And so we can look at it from a county perspective. And then from there, we have to make some guesstimates based on the number of customers outside the county versus inside the county, or outside of the city versus inside the city. So in other words, the service routes, cross borders. And so that's what makes it difficult to know specifically the tonnage that's collected within the city. But I can bring back some estimates.
That would be great. Don't spend too much time on it. It can be, I don't need to know how many oranges are in one side or the other. It doesn't have to be that detailed. I just wanted a general idea out of curiosity.
All right. Any other questions? Councilor Gwynn, you're good?
I'm good.
All right, Councilor Varney, we'll see you again online on Monday, I think.
I believe so. All
right.
right. Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That would be,
So we are adjourned.
oh, thank you. We are adjourned.